Quick math lesson. How many healer/support frames are in the game? When I say support, I mean a frame that revolves entirely around healing and/or buffing allies, so in this case, support does not include Mesa, whose only supportive ability is shooting gallery. If you know your stuff, then you should have counted 3 supportive frames, those being Equinox, Trinity, and Oberon. However, being the excruciating grind that she is, Equinox is only an option for you if you're willing to spend time farming parts from Tilray core. Because of this, your choices drop down to Trinity and Oberon. Can you name the differences between Trinity and Oberon? Go ahead and try. I'll wait. Not to mention that Trinity is the epitome of meta frame. Because there's so few healer/support frames in the game already, this represents a problem, which I will get into. For starters, we're already limited to 3 out of 29 total warframes if we want to pick up the role of medic. That's about 10% of all warframes in the game that fit the true support role. That might sound like a lot, but considering what options you have to choose from, it's a joke compared to all the damaging frames we have. Secondly, we have constrained options when it comes to picking a healer. It's universal knowledge that Oberon is a barely average jack of all trades, and he's been permanently exiled from the meta because of how generally meh he is. If you add to it that the fact that Equinox is difficult to obtain compared to Trinity, then it's simple to see why Trinity is such a favorite in the meta. Of course, Trinity's kit also makes her the sweetheart of every person's squad, which in turn makes her requested over and over again, especially with an energy vampire build. This is the problem that Trinity represents. She's not bad because of her kit, she's bad because when compared to the alternatives you have for a healer frame, Trinity is basically the only option. The logician in you might say, well, Equinox is a good supporter, so she's also an option. That's very true, but remember again what you have to choose from. There's option A, which is a good supporter, but in the amount of time it takes to acquire option A, you could instead get Avara, Nezha, and Atlas. There's option B, which drops from both the Void and Phobos. Option B appeals to both the casuals who only run planets, the hardcore audience who consistently run Void missions, and the veterans who require a person that can keep them fighting. Finally, there's option C, whose kit is easily replaceable when compared to virtually any other frame, but is fairly easy to acquire. With all 3 options in mind, who do you take? Even if more healer frames are put into the game, that might not be enough to introduce alternatives to the meta. Even a concept like Hypatia, who only exists to serve as a proposed competitor to Trinity, might not be enough to tone down Trinity's popularity, which brings me to my third point. Healer diversity. At the moment, all 3 healer frames provide basic health restoration and some other bonus. Equinox offers buffs, debuffs, and healing. Trinity provides healing, energy restoration, and damage immunity. Oberon offers healing, CC, and radiation procs. Our current healers all provide medical abilities as well as some random stuff thrown in for appeal. While diversity is appreciated, nobody is taking a chance to be a new type of supportive frame. I've stated before that Oberon could be changed into a pure buffer frame, which could make him the pioneer of a new buffer archetype in Warframe. Instead of that, Oberon's just been given inferior healing compared to Trinity, and CC that becomes nearly pointless in high-level play. Equinox is definitely a step in a new direction for healer frames, but if you don't want to fork over platinum to quickly get her, you're forced to spend time hoping you get all the parts, much like Nezha. As I've said earlier in this video, the disadvantages of Equinox and Oberon make Trinity the best choice for healer by comparison. So now you might be asking, how can new healer-esque frames be introduced while at the same time not totally overshadowing Trinity? The way I see it, DE has 2 options. The first option is to simply rework Oberon, which is the easier and more requested by the community option. Oberon's been put in a place where the only 2 true choices for healer are along to create Equinox and number 1 healer Trinity. If Oberon is just reworked and improved, Not only can he be a good choice in a team composition, but he could also be relevant again, offering choice between healer frames. The second option is to, obviously, bring in more healer frames. This might work in the long run if done properly, but it will take time and resources to do so. There's also the risk that the community might not approve of any potential support frames made, which would take away even more time that could be used to do other things, such as rework Oberon or make more cinematic quests. This might be a lot to take in. That's because it is, because the meta has dictated that Trinity is the best and only healer in the game for all situations, much like Loki is the best frame in all situations. What does this mean for the game? This means that if DE doesn't want to devote the time and resources to make more frames that are viable, fun to play, and good alternatives to the already dominant Trinity, then DE's only option is to rework Oberon. That way, the already existing Oberon becomes a hell of a lot better to see and play. Thank you for watching.